And we still haven't figured out how to do the intro for this. Should be like, hey, welcome to the Tea Curious IG Live. I'm Ree, and I'm Tea Curious. And this is day 36 of our live tea sessions together. Wow. Smash that subscribe button.
Wow.
I guess that's what it needs to be, but that's stupid. I can't do it. I can't pull it off. I can only pull it off when I'm joking. So, happy Wednesday. Yeah, happy Wednesday and happy 36th day of our tea practice together. The 36 days isn't the stupid part. It's just I don't know how to intro these. I can only manage to look at the camera because you guys are talking to me. If there's just a camera, I couldn't do it. But good afternoon from Vegas. Today we're drinking some baozhong. Some baozhong. And it's a springtimey tea from Taiwan. We're going to be brewing in these bowls, which for those of you who have either been to Taiwan or seen people who really like Taiwan, or, you know, have seen us do this, we really like bowl brewing style. We can call it soup time, I guess, because we got little soup spoons. I'll explain this in a little bit for those of you who haven't gotten into it. But for those of you who are in today, hi, and nice to see you guys. Jeremy's the first person to do a little wave. Jeremy, nice to see you. Gabby, happy hump day to you too. Eric, Asu Lady, Nicholas from Tea Traveler, how's it going? Yeah, we can call it cereal bowl style, that's fine. But we will be drinking some baozhong today from Floating Leaves. I know I didn't get to announce on Instagram. I think I am like, oh man, I feel like a screen these days. I don't have the bandwidth to announce every single time on Instagram. We're like too busy enjoying breakfast, and then now it's time for the Instagram live. So y'all who are here are just gonna be here. So that's fine. So to explain what we're doing today, we're doing a comparison of two different kinds of baozhong. And this is kind of a good way to evaluate two teas that are very similar in style and form, and that are just a little bit different in terms of maybe the cultivar or the area they're from, or it's from a different maker. When we're sourcing tea from, let's say, the same tea maker or the same tea from different tea makers, you want to be able to do them side by side, because it's difficult to see the differences when you're brewing it in a gaiwan, or especially when you're doing like a yixing teapot. There's just too many variables to consider, and it might be you that's causing the difference in the tea and not the teas themselves. So the bowl brewing style, we can call it cereal bowl style. Is that what they call it? I like that. I like that term. This is I think the best way to compare, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, two teas that are very similar. Two teas. So the first one will be the Farmer's Choice baozhong. This is actually my favorite baozhong of all time. Fantastic tea. And then their other baozhong, which is from a different area that is pretty nearby to the first one, actually. This is Nangang baozhong. And we're going to be comparing these two from the same vendor. So what's interesting is that not only are they two teas of the same type, they're both from the same vendor, and even if, you know, they are from different tea makers, typically the same vendor will have a very similar tea taste. So we're, you know, selecting teas that are going to be relatively, you know, qualities that vendor considered to be pretty good. And seeing how the differences in the region, this is just a regional comparison we're doing today, have affected the teas. And also the tea maker, that's important to consider too. It's important to remember that tea makers are just like people. So even if someone's from Madrid, like Pure Tea Shop, you can't say, oh, they cook Madrid food, and someone else who cooks Madrid food cooks the same as them. There's the region and the style from there, but also two different people from the same region will cook differently, will make tea differently. So this is going to be interesting because it's both different tea makers and different regions. Yeah? Yeah. I think they're from the same year. I believe I bought these side by side last year. So it should be spring 2019. And then I preheated our bowls. I preheated our cereal spoons. I guess we can call them silver spoons. And in this kind of side-by-side, you'll want to use just 2 bowls that are similar. Ceramic soup spoons, you can use metal if you want, but I find that metal kind of changes the taste of tea a little bit, and then you'll want to weigh these out so that you know it's the same weight. It's going to be the differences in the teas and not the differences in the weight that'll matter. So while I set this baby up, let us know what you're drinking today. We've been drinking some other Floating Leaves tea. We've had their Das Reishan. It's a 2013 pour. Oh, there's still water in that, Steven. It's a long steep. They actually do pour as well. Really good stuff. Yeah, super chill. So Pure Tea Shop, nice to see you from Madrid. Terry Teapot, Ian from Dottitron, Sonia, how's it going? And Delphine, welcome to today's tea practice. Day 36. We are 90% of the way through our 40 days. Yeah, it's a long time. If we can do tea for 40 days straight, just doing an hour or 2 live. I mean, how many days did Jesus spend in the desert? 40 days in the desert? It's a long time. And originally we'd said, hey, we'll do this every day until the quarantine lifts. But now I'm like finding myself wanting it to lift because I want to take a break. So instead of, you know, forcing the quarantine to lift before it needs to, we'll just call it 40. I read that the word quarantine comes from the word, from the 40 days they used to impose on Italian ships coming in to Venice. That's why it's called quarantine. There was like the 30-day quarantine that they call like a quarantine. That's not it, but something like that. So they did 30 days, and then the ships would dock in the harbor of Venice, I believe, because Venice was a big trading hub back then. If any of you have Wikipedia quarantine in the last 40 days, you would know this already. But yeah, they would let them stop in the harbor and hang out for 30 days and not let them in. And then they found out after they let those people in, like 30 days wasn't enough because people still got sick. And so they extended it to 40 days. And that's where we get the word quarantine, I guess. So thanks, Wikipedia. And I'm just weighing these out to 3 grams each. It's actually more than I usually put in, but I've noticed lately that a lot of our tea drinking peers like to use 3 grams. Like Jeffrey McIntosh likes to use 3 grams. I think Floating Leaves, Sherwin has used 3 grams in the past too. I just see her use 3 grams sometimes. I typically use like 2 grams because I'm cheap. But if 3 grams is the more common one, then I'm going to switch it up so that, you know, it's just a more standard comparison. I am not using the standard tasting cups that I use for these. There are some bowls that are used in Taiwan that are often from the same company, same producer, that are standardized, but these are not. It doesn't matter if you don't have a standard tea tasting set. As long as your bowls are similar and you've tested them before to make sure they kind of taste okay with tea. So as much as you love Grandma and her beautiful china pieces, they may or may not taste good. Test them out first. Especially if they're like different colors. The different glazes might make the tea taste differently. Yeah. So, help me keep track of this. Is this you guys' left too? I think it is. Yeah. On the left, this is the Farmer's Choice baozhong. This is from Pinglin. And Pinglin is the area of Taiwan that's more commonly known for baozhong now. It has a really big tea museum there, really, really fantastic. Although the last time we went in November, they had a wing closed, and I was really sad because I really like that museum. And then Pinglin is really close to Taipei. You can actually take a bus from Taipei to Pinglin on the weekends, a fast bus. And not too far away from Pinglin is Nangang, which is actually within the Taipei city limits. You can take the subway line to Nangang. And Nangang is actually where the Taiwan Tea Expo was held last year. So I was like, wow, you know, Taiwan isn't a really old country, but Taipei probably, you know, started as a really small village. And then so these places, even if they're within the city today, almost, especially Nangang, they're probably like really far out when the city was really young, they're like, a half a day's horse ride away, or, a half a day's walk away, and now you can just take the subway and get to Nangang. It's not like they grow this within the city, but that kind of like slice of the city, part of it is like, urbanized and stuff. So it's really interesting. And then Pinglin is not too far away. I guess in the past it would have been a lot further away. Yeah. But even relatively speaking, like, it would take less than an hour for you to get from Pinglin to Nangang with a car. Much, much less if you have a car. And then to get from Taipei to, let's say, Alishan, it'd take you like 4 or 5 hours because of the mountain roads going up. So pretty close areas. But from what Shoan has explained before, Nangang is actually older than Pinglin. And I'm not going to talk too much about the history. I don't really know much about Nangang. But it's supposed to be the older style. So this is supposed to be the more old school baozhong out of the two. And for most of you that have baozhong at home, you're probably drinking Pinglin baozhong. This one on the right. I mean, no, this one on the left. Yeah, this one. I have them on the side to remind myself which one is which. They look very similar. Let's see what you guys are drinking today. Jeremy's having some Taiwan Ui from Floating Leaves as well. Delphine uses 2.5 grams. I use 2.5 grams a lot as well. Let's see. Yeah, that's all y'all are drinking? No tea? Hey, Eric, you should go get some tea. What's going on? Let's get this guy to boiling. Oh, and then I'm going to take one challenge that Shoan put out on her podcast. She actually put out a podcast about this Nangang baozhong, which if you're looking at their site is actually now their smooth water baozhong. I listened to it this morning just to see if there's anything I wanted to pick up for the tasting. And she actually did a side-by-side of Nangang and Pinglin baozhong with one of the farmers who's related, to the tea making of these teas. I think it was a Nangang guy, right, on the podcast. And I personally have a very difficult time being that bold to ask someone to compare their own tea with someone else's tea in Taiwan. It's very intimidating. I find that even when I like the tea, I'll bring it to someone I like, and even if they're polite enough to try it, they're like, I'm like, asshole, this tea is really good. But everyone has different tastes, of course, and it's almost comical. Like, no tea maker in Taiwan really likes someone else's tea unless they're friends. They just have this kind of healthy criticism, and healthy skepticism is a better word, of other people's teas. And it's not like they're being snooty about it. It's just fair to say that there is a lot of bad tea, and if you just don't like it, you're gonna get tired of people bringing it to you, right? It's almost like a mental block. So Shoan was telling us in the podcast that the Nangang guy is like, oh, why would you drink Pinglin baozhong? Nangang is the first one, it's the best, and etc., etc. But that's the last negative thing I'll say about these two teas today. Or I'm not going to try to make a judgment call too much, because her challenge in that podcast was to try to evaluate these two without being critical of either one. And I perked up when I heard that we were eating breakfast while listening to Shoan and Noah, which is a really nice way to start the day. And I personally like to criticize teas a lot. I almost make it a hobby to try to find out if there's something wrong with a tea, because I want to root out something that's off about a tea. That's partially because of, having had to source teas, and we had to pick, really, really good teas out of like a lot of really bad teas. So it's almost like a practice for me in doing both wholesale and retail work. When you're picking teas, you need to figure out if there's something wrong, right? If it's good, it's good. But if there's something wrong, you really need to find it. And so I kind of tend to dial into something wrong in a tea very easily, which is, I like having that capability because it gives me a lot of confidence when I'm trying to choose tea. But then sometimes I'm looking for that too much instead of just enjoying the tea. On the flip side, sometimes I'll give the tea too much credit for being, interesting when actually it's something wrong with it. There's no like middle point for me where I'm just enjoying and taking the tea for what it is. So I'm going to try to practice that today. So, Steven, I'm going to owe you $1 for every single time I say something not positive or like too like critical about the tea. It's just gotta be objective and positive. Okay? So if you catch me, just PM Steven, $, $. Okay? Cool. So besides that Taiwan Wii that Jeremy's having, Praveen, how's it going? Welcome to the practice today. Asulite is having some Baijiguan. I really like Baijiguan too. Delphine is going to make some Pinglin baozhong as well, and she dreams of trying this Nangang baozhong. For those of you just tuning in, we're going to be comparing Nangang and Pinglin baozhong. They're both from Taiwan, both from a relatively similar part of Taiwan, but they're like sub-regions, okay? I wouldn't call them different parts of Taiwan. They're both very close to Taipei. Like if there was like a big map on the wall and I just hit a dart and like I hit the part of Taiwan where these two teas are, it'd be very difficult to kind of like differentiate them. They're very close. Compared to like Dongdaeng, which is it's a completely different part of the island. Terry Teapot's having some Guangguang green. Ooh, I never had Guangguang green or any Guizhou teas actually. Dr. Felix is here and Mindful Teas is here as well. How's it going? Thanks again for joining us from so late over there in Europe, European friends. Ivan Zauzersky and Javier Sanchez is here too. Welcome to tea practice today. I'm going to preheat these guys again. I talk too much and so they're cold now. That seems to happen. Alright. I don't have any dollars, so I hope that I can stick to my challenge very well. Steven has more dollars than I do at this point in time. I've also been buying tea for much longer, so that's why I don't have as many dollars. I'm just kidding. So that's the bet. Just try to evaluate these for what they are and not try to make a judgment call about which one is better. Because both of them will have their own kind of good qualities, bad qualities. We'll concentrate just on taking them for what they are and understanding what they are. It's like people, when you meet a person, you don't want to be like, wow, her nose is really big, or like, his hair is kind of weird, you want to get to know them. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to dial in on that stuff too much. All right. So these are nice and hot now. I'm not even going to look at the leaves too much. I usually like to look at the dry leaves too much, but we're just going to drink the tea today. And we're just going to fill these up to the very top. So this one here, the one on your guys' right, is a Nangang baozhong. On their site, it's called Smooth Water baozhong. And this one on the left is their Farmer's Choice baozhong. And I'm going to withhold any kind of like previous experiences I've ever had with these teas. I'm just going to try to take them as they are. Okay. And I think just both of them are a really good choice for today. It's nice and springtimey. Did you know in Las Vegas we're going to hit 40 degrees next week? Right? 40 degrees? Is that what? 40 degrees Celsius? Maybe a little bit too much. Maybe like 36 degrees. What's 100 degrees Fahrenheit in Celsius? Gabby, if you're still here, cover your ears. 37.7 degrees Celsius next week in Vegas in April. So if y'all don't think global warming is a thing, yeah, it's no bueno. Kenneth Sarap is there? Sarap means delicious in Filipino, the Tagalog, the Filipino language, and Geoff is here too. He said it's the legit baozhong, he says. Holy crap! So over in Montreal, and Quebec City, definitely is in Quebec City, it's negative 11 degrees Celsius. I've never experienced negative degrees before, I don't think. You know what? No, I've experienced like -2 degrees Celsius, and that's it. That's the coldest I've ever experienced.
That's 12 degrees Fahrenheit.
12 degrees Fahrenheit. Whew.
Ooh, 5 degrees Fahrenheit for Darren.
That's cold. What are you guys doing out there? Come to Vegas. But no, don't come to Vegas.
Come to
It's gonna be too hot.
And also, there will be nothing to do.
That's true. And we can't even drink tea together. So yeah, just stay in Montreal and Quebec and Madrid and
We'll virtually drink tea together.
you know, wherever you guys are, St. Louis, Germany, Madrid. Yeah, we'll just drink tea virtually, because if you're here, you would just end up being a statistic. Canadian tourists found dehydrated on the side of Las Vegas sidewalk. That's not funny, but I think it's hilarious. Okie dokie. Yeah. You, Sophia, welcome to Tea Practice today. We've got the Nangang baozhong on the right, from Nangang. Nangang is Nangang. Oh, here. Nangang. It's backwards for you guys. It's really helpful. And then the other one is Pinglin. 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 Fun fact. I like to say this fun fact. Eric almost died in Pinglin. Eric, who's a tea sleuth here in chat, he almost died in Pinglin. No, he just fell down the stairs at the Taiwan Research Extension Station. I'm trying to live like my best life, never having been there before. The Taiwan Research Extension Station is, I think it is in Pinglin. It might just be like a town right outside Pinglin, but that's the research station that's responsible for developing cultivars for Taiwan, doing all the tea research. They like look at the rainfall levels, the drought levels, see how the harvest season is going, help develop, agricultural techniques for farmers. Basically, it's the support system for farmers. And of course, Eric has nothing positive to say at all about anything he actually likes. So I'll take that as a compliment. But yeah, he was so bored that he fell down. He passed out from boredom. And he fell down a tea farm side of the tea farm. And he made it very, very gripping. So yeah. We love you, Eric. I'm learning to speak a little bit of Mandarin, a little bit of French. I'm trying to get my Japanese back. I started learning Tagalog, my native language, recently, and then I'm learning how to speak Eric. And I think I'm learning how to speak Eric very well recently. Yeah. So then I'm like, oh, Eric's he just likes me. Yeah, that's great. Eric's really nice to the people he doesn't really like. There are those kinds of people. I'm kind of like that, actually. So, if I'm being too nice to you, and we've been friends for like way too long, we're probably not that close. Okay, so on the left is the Farmer's Choice, the Pinglin one, and on the right is the Nangang. Much different colors. Wow, look at this one is very light, this one's darker. And we brewed them at the same temperature, at the same time, more or less, So, yeah, pretty different colors. Oh, the benefit of doing these spoon is to kind of smell the back of a spoon. Wow. Holy crap. This is the Nangang baozhong, the one that Jeffrey from Lazy Literatus, he calls it the legit one. I just say it's the older one, right? It's just supposedly the older region that produces baozhong. And then Pinglin. Oh, wow. That's a huge difference. Holy crap. Wow. That's huge. Steven, want to smell? Huge difference in smell. Again, trying my best to just take them as they are. I'm not going to try to compare them. I'm just going to try to just figure them out as distinct teas. Yeah. Chakra State, welcome to Tea Practice today. We're doing a side-by-side of baozongs from different regions. Nangang and Pinglin. So Nangang on the right, and then Pinglin on the left. That'll help me remember it better. This one's a lot more fragrant, I would say. Really fragrant. Nice. Just getting to know them by getting to know the both of them. Ooh. 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 That's very fresh tasting. That almost tastes like new tea. Really, really fresh and grassy. They look very similar, just in terms of the leaf material. Wow, he just killed that cup.
Oops.
So this is their smooth water. I think they've since changed the name on their site. Smooth water baozhong for them. And then this is their farmer's choice from Pinglin. And this is their more typical offering at Floating Leaves, I think. Which I think, I'm just saying that to say that it's really more typical for you to find Pinglin baozhong on the market. I think this is the only Nangang baozhong I've ever seen in the US side. And even in Taiwan, it's really uncommon to find Nangang baozhong. If you say baozhong, it's Pinglin. That's just the connection. Very different. This one's more fruity, I'd say. Yeah. Just trying to get to know them. It's so funny that they're so close to each other, but they're very, very different. And that's partially the terroir, of course. I've never been to the tea farms in Nangang, but they're not that far away. Like, Nangang's just a couple like mountains over, so I don't know why it's so different. So in this case, I'm almost wondering if it's the farmer and the processing that makes them so different. Okay, I'm gonna try to concentrate on one at a time. They're very similar. This one is more floral, more like soft and silky, and then this one is more fruity, more bold. Texture though, this is supposed to be the one with the better texture, so we'll see. Very different teas. Yeah, very different teas. Hi Ross, from all over in, are you still in Kansas City, my friend? Or have you escaped to the better coast? Wow, this is a tea that really pulls you in. It's a tea that like demands that I'm drinking it, which is interesting to say. Some teas you can kind of just drink while thinking about other things. This one just is demanding that I pay attention to it. I don't know what it is about it. I think there's just a lot going on with the tea. And then there's that when you have a tea, there's a floral taste in the very beginning, but also the floral aroma that just kind of explodes in the palate. So when you breathe out, it's just all flowers. I feel like I have flower breath right now. Flowers. I smell like springtime. Yeah, it's like springtime in your mouth, which is not a bad feeling. I bet this would be really good to drink when it's 37 degrees next week. I don't know how it's at 37 degrees next week in Vegas. It's just insane. I want to shock every European who comes in. Hey, Marjolaine, did you hear that in Vegas? It's going to be 37 degrees next week? Marjolaine just kicked in. Hi, Marjolaine. I didn't even say hi to you, but yeah. It's going to be very hot here in Vegas. I wonder how cold it is still there. April is still kind of like... Winter is still melting for you guys, right? Yeah, this is very good. And in their podcast, they recommended kind of like letting these bowls sit through a couple different kind of like refills. And when you're evaluating tea in a huge amount in Taiwan, and I've done this in Nepal and China, and in India and China too, but sometimes you'll have so many of them that you'll only have a couple of scoops to drink, and then you won't be able to refill them. But the benefit of doing this at home over, when you're out and rushing to pick a tea or trying to get from one place to another when you're traveling, is you'll get to kind of reinfuse the tea if you'd like to and see how long this goes. if you think about it, these leaves are sitting in the bowls for a very long time. Can you try doing this with a Lipton tea bag? At 3 grams? Okay, that's like 3 tea bags, right? Because I think a Lipton tea bag is like 1.2 or something grams. Imagine putting 3 Lipton tea bags and letting them sit in the water. And seeing where that goes. It's going to be very, very bitter. So this bowl brew style is actually a way for really good teas to show themselves, especially over time. How long can this tea kind of sit in the water and get kind of refilled over and over again without getting too bitter, without getting too crazy, without showing any issues. And my challenge again today was to try to not criticize anything about these teas. I mean, they're very, very good teas, but usually when I do a side-by-side, the way that I compare something is, you know, if something has a flaw, that's the easiest thing to kind of dial down into. Like when you compare people you've dated, like, oh, that guy was blah, 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 blah. And then now the person I'm dating is really good. You know, it's easy to point out the flaws to compare. Right? You don't want to say nice things about your exes if they're really awful to you. I've had a couple good ones, but some of them were not good. I have some handmade teapots in the hands of an ex or two, and you feel me? Come on, you just want to give back my handmade teapot? Anyway. We're trying to just take them as they are instead of trying to make a judgment call about which one I like better, which one is a better tea. Just trying to get to know them, which is quite difficult for me. I like to make opinions about tea in a side-by-side like this. And you kind of have to. Marjolaine, you've and not just Marjolaine, but other people on the chat too. I'm sure you guys have traveled to Origin and been presented with like a whole table full of teas, right? Delphine even going to, you know, World Tea Expo or whatever. If you're presented with a whole table full of teas and you need to pick the one that you're taking home, the one that you're buying 10 kilos of because you're Camellia sinensis or something, or whatever, you need to act quickly. You need to make an opinion about which tea is good and why. So this is almost like a backward exercise for me to just enjoy the tea, get to know the tea, because there's no pressure here. If I'm being, you know, honest with myself, I don't need to make a call about which one I like more. I own both of them. They're both really good teas. Now, what is it about them? Who are they as people if they're teas, you know? If someone says Nangang baozhong, what does that mean compared to Pinglin baozhong? And it's safer this way, because if I say, oh, I like Pinglin baozhong better, you know, I'm gonna have some Nangang people like, hey, Ree! And if I say that I like Nangang baozhong better, hey, Ree, you know, Pinglin baozhong better. Especially in Taiwan, where people are very opinionated about the regions they like, the processing styles they like, you know. My tea family lets me go down to Hualien, where I usually visit Matt from Mountain Stream. I'd actually never been to Hualien before meeting Matt, and he was like, come down to Hualien. I'm like, okay. It's like the next province over from where I usually stay in Taiwan with my super generous tea family. And yeah, they're like, why go down to Hualien? The tea's not good there. Or why go down to Taidong? The tea is not good there. And they don't really mean that. I feel like they're just like, the tea is okay, but there's so much good tea here. Why drink it? And yeah, I guess, again, that's just a defense mechanism, because there is a lot of really bad tea in the market, but every single region has really, really good makers. And yeah, I'm trying to learn how to just take each region for what it is. And if I just have the best example of each tea, I think I can do that. I have very little patience for not good tea. Especially after the pu'er challenge. I'm like, man, no more okay pu'er. It's gonna be good or go home. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Marjolaine says cold brew season is open for you. She's so glass half full kind of person. Yeah, that's true. Cold brew. Yeah, 37 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it's pretty hot. Hidestock, welcome to today's tea practice. Did you know that in Vegas it's going to be 37 degrees next week? In like 5 days. This is called shock all the people who live in Europe or Canada. It's a fun joke. Mindful tea is true. Did you know it's going to be 37 degrees next week? Okay. So I've been getting to know this Nangang baozhong. As you're doing this bowl brewing style at home, the teas will develop over time. It's different now 10 minutes after I've taken the first few sips, I think. And it's starting to show some movement, some development. And while we usually do gaiwans, like going for brewing style, because it's nice to see the steeps develop, you can kind of see it happen too with bowl brewing. Even if it's not as distinct, the tea definitely changes as you drink a little bit, you know, refill with some more water and stuff. Yeah, it's just a little bit less cut up, right? Like the gaiwan steepings will be cut up. This is more together. So it takes a little bit of practice to see how the tea is developing like this. And I still need some more practice, but it's definitely changing. And I have to say I like the way it's changing. It's very interesting. Less of that kind of explosive bouquet and more kind of withdrawn. It is again a tea that demands attention. It's not like a easy drinking tea that you can just kind of chug. It's like it demands attention. It's like, hey, listen up. Really beautiful aftertaste too, the Nangang. And then we'll try the Pinglin baozhong again in a little bit. Livestream, welcome to Tea Practice today, and Danae from Camellia Streety, welcome. We're doing the baozhong comparison using, a more typical baozhong from Pinglin, and then a kind of old school, I guess you can call it, from Nangang. Both Taiwan, both very close areas. They're almost like sub-regions of northern Taiwan. Terry Teapot, I like the bowl brewing style you're doing. Yeah, this is really, really fun. It's a fun way to evaluate tea for sure. And to just play. It's a playful style of tea if you look into it. There's so much you can do. The leaves are right there. You can play around with them, look at them. I really like it. She says it's 65 degrees Fahrenheit in Asheville today. What is that? Asheville. Isn't Claire from North Carolina? We have a friend in North Carolina who says she's never been to a tea shop before. And we're like, you need to go. Do you have a favorite local tea shop in Asheville, Terry? Or do you maybe even work at one? We have a lot of people who turn out to be tea shop folks in our little tea group. All right. Have this little cute reunion between margarine and mindful teas. Okay, so I'm switching over to the Farmer's Choice. Much different tea. Wow. And the smell of the inside of the spoon is actually different from the smell that's on the outside of the spoon. I think just because of the way that the aromatic compounds cling, there's kind of like this concave. It's like curving out. So it's just interacting with the air a different way. And then on the inside, it's kind of curving in and it's interacting with the air a different way. I don't know why it makes the aroma different, but it definitely does. And just a cool way to have two different aromas at the same time. It's almost like the inside of a gaiwan lid, you know? So, very tasty. Even just the aroma. And I'd have to say, I think you can even tell with the live that I'm hosting right now, this is a very serious tea. Sometimes our lives, for those of you, especially who've gone through all 36 days with us, or even back from when we were still doing our twice weekly or even weekly, before even Steven was born, sometimes I have very crazy Instagram lives, we've had times like, remember, I think, what was it? We had a tea that we ended up talking about tea and dating, and someone should make a tea and dating website because tea people are really cool and, stuff like that. But this one's a very kind of grounding and focused and serious tea. I don't even think I was too affected by what Shoen said on her podcast to say that this is a very quiet tea. I kind of try to take the tea as it is. I think I can. It is a very quiet tea though. It's very, right? Steven, so quiet, like you. Which means I will have to switch to a different tea when we do our Discord later. Because we have a Discord tea hangout after this. And usually Discord hangout, is a bunch of us talking about tea, exploring topics from the previous week, just hanging out, etc. Yesterday, there was a little impromptu one. We had like a little hat party that I walked into. But that's a very social setting. So when you're aware of what the tea is doing to you, you'll know if you're drinking a tea that is matching the situation, or if you need to switch to a tea that will match that situation you're faced with better. So when you're trying to, let's say, get work done, do you want to drink a tea that makes you want to knock out? When you're trying to go to sleep, do you want to get a tea that makes you want to go rage with your friends? And this is definitely a quiet kind of tea. I can even feel my voice getting volume down. Now let's try the Farmer's Choice. I wonder if the feeling is different from the Farmer's Choice too. I'm talking about the Nangang baozhong here on the right. Is the one that's more quiet, more more relaxed, but not just chill. It's quite serious of a tea. And I know tea isn't people, but the person behind it is a person, and sometimes that personality of the person comes through in the food. When you have a grandma who's like really, really funny, and she's a crack up and doesn't give a fuck what people say, I guess, and if she cooks food or bakes cookies, you'll see that personality come out in what they're making. And then if you have someone who's very thinky and likes to read a lot and, watches, what's a really cerebral cooking show, like Chef's Table or something on Netflix, the kind of food that they put out on the table will also be very cerebral and thinky and stuff like that. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say that these teas have personalities as well. The same thing could be said about, like, say, music, where Steven is very quiet, so when he plays music, I can't hear it because he never plays music for me.
That's just a mix.
I'm just kidding. But does that make sense? I wonder if there's another example we can use for that. Alute PR is here. Welcome. And Lily du Fleuve is here as well. Bonsoir, friends. And Jake. How's it going, Jake? We're having some oolong. If you'd like to drink oolong with us.
Wow.
See, the switch immediately from the farmer to the Farmer's Choice is a different feeling altogether. And Hide Stock, yeah, Steven's covering us down there. We got some baozhong, the Pinglin on the left, and then Nangang on the right. Yeah, I'm already feeling just kind of my energy go up, not in a positive negative way. It's just a very more kind of outward tea, And Jake was asking the concept I was saying. People teas can be compared to people. I can use music because Jake is here. And Jake, it's like people will create different kinds of music depending on the kind of person they are, right? And someone who's really quiet and, introverted and I'm not even talking about you, I'm talking about Jake. And chill and has a certain background will play a different kind of music than someone else who's, maybe they like to put out their aggression in music. Some people like to, put all their kind of pent up energy into the music as put it out there. And that'll turn out differently. And the same thing happens in the tea. Yeah. Maybe it's cliche to say, but the people I've met, their tea matches them pretty well. Yeah. Makes sense, right? Because those tea makers are making teas that they want to listen to drink, and people who make music want to listen to music that they would like to listen to, make music that they would like to listen to. So yeah, I think it makes sense. The same thing happens in tea brewing, by the way. Yeah. A really good example is, here at the local tea shop, we have our friend Ken, who hosts all the pu'er workshops. I do everything else but pu'er, because I usually get too tea drunk to host a pu'er workshop at the local tea shop here. If you notice, I've never hosted a pu'er workshop, because I'm worried someone will just put something on the table, we're going to try it, and I just pass out, because I'm just so sensitive to pu'er. I can drink it, but I can't expect people to come to a shop, a tasting where I'm not sober by the end of it. But he brews tea like a, I don't even know, insert word here. He brews tea like a volcano, dude. It's just like, I don't even know what to say. It's like, he can turn a tea that brews up like this into like something really dark red, almost motor oily. Like, what the hell did you do to the tea, dude? He's like, it's a little bit bitter, but it'll be okay. And when he says a little bit bitter, you know it's gonna be like, and it matches him as a person. He's from New York, you know, he's Italian descent. He's the one who says it. I'm from New York, you know, I can't lower my voice because I'm from New York and I'm Italian, you know, I'm like, so, and the way he makes tea is like that. But I like it that way. I think it'd be really boring if we all made the tea the same way, right? Like, if I think Steven's an excellent tea brewer, but the world would be so boring if everyone brewed tea like Steven. And then the world would be really boring if everyone brewed tea like me, right? Like, come on, it's just boring. So then you just, yeah. So all of you who I haven't met before, I'd really love to try your tea someday. I can't wait until that moment. Someone else who's very interesting when he brews tea is Eric. Eric is a roller coaster when it comes to his tea. Sometimes his tea is like genius, and then sometimes his tea is like completely different. Like, it's not even the same dimension, which I think describes a person. We love you, Eric. We love you. Yeah, I mean, the guy's favorite tea is Korean balyocha, like oxidized Korean tea that they don't want to call oolong. You know, like, have you heard of balyocha? Who's heard of balyocha here? Raise of hands or click the little hearts. Balyocha is just one of those teas that, I mean, I don't understand it because there's just not a lot of it on the market. We see some hearts going on. Anyone else have heard of balyocha? Balhyocha. It's a Korean oxidized tea that they don't want to call oolong, which I understand, but it's also very difficult. Some people are like, oh, it's like yellow tea, or it's like oolong, or it's closer to black tea. I think some companies will just call it black tea. And yeah, it's like if that person's favorite tea is something I had never even heard of, you know that person's the most interesting man in the world. So yeah. Shiloh, welcome to Tea Practice today. We're doing a side-by-side taste, aroma, also feeling of these two teas. Nangang baozhong from Floating Leaves, and also the Farmer's Choice from Pinglin from Floating Leaves. More like a regional and tea personality change. I feel like I've just pepped up again from the Farmer's Choice, just in terms of the energy is different, you know? But yeah, let me plug Eric's project. I know I didn't even plan to, but Eric is helping out Morning Crane, who is supposed to be the most crazy, knowledgeable Korean tea liaison in the universe for us in the West. Eric, I'm sure you would have said, oh, really, why'd you say it that way? But Morning Crane is basically who a lot of the people in the US got their really high quality Korean tea connects from. And he's a Korean potter and works very closely with really incredible tea makers in Korea. And I don't know much about Korean tea, but I know what's good. I'm confident to say when a tea is good and when I like it and when it's just head and shoulders above the rest. And the teas I've had from Morning Crane are really incredible. All this to say, they're doing a group buy this year, as they have done every single year. And Arthur, the organizer, the person I'm talking about, has decided to lower their prices to 2010 levels because they want people to enjoy Korean tea, even during the crisis for the coronavirus. So I looked at the site this morning, was the first time I had some time. All my extra time has been spent digging through the Poured Love Challenge data, which is very interesting. I'm very close to finishing it. I'm having such a good time, but that means I've looked at every single pour note you guys have logged. Every single one. I've gotten, you know, kind of emotional over some of them. Shiloh, some of yours, you know. Shiloh talked about drinking Yunnan tea with the dye clay that is the same soil that nourished the trees. And I'm like, oh my god, why don't we have a dye clay pot? Oh my goodness. And, you know, there were experiments. And Delphine, it's almost like every single tea she had was her favorite, which I really dug. She just knows what she likes, I guess. So I learned a lot. Really, really cool. We did almost 300 teas. We were like 10 teas off. Less than 10 teas off from getting 300 total. So I'm actually going to go back to the chat to see if I missed anything, because we're so close to 300. We're really close. But even so, almost 300 pu'ers we logged in 15 days, of which 40 are Jeremy. It's pretty impressive. I think like a whole third of those are Canada. So you guys, yeah. Delphine's guess 420 is actually the closest. Yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, so if you guys are interested in the Korean tea buy, which I'm sorry, I can't focus. I'm just having too much of a good time. The Korean tea buy from Morning Crane, Eric, yeah, why don't you just go DM Eric, who's Tea Sleuth, on the chat. I feel this way because a lot of the Korean tea on the market is not that great. Like if you go to just any kind of store and they have Korean tea, chances are it's going to be okay. And the reason is that most of the really high-end producers are not accessible for the market. They're just too expensive for most people's like just kind of evaluation, especially if you're in a tea shop and of course a tea side by side with something else. It's like, why is this baozhong only $8 an ounce, but the Korean tea that's just mid-grade is like $20 an ounce or something like that, which is it's not even that expensive on the group buy. And the reason is why, similar to Japan, Korea has very high labor costs, and they don't have as much of a like huge kind of, yeah, the producers here are not monoculture, meaning they're not doing these huge farms with like just, you know, cutting the leaves and stuff like that, which is totally okay too, but then it makes things more economical if you use like the machine cutters. I think everything from Morning Crane is hand-picked, and a lot of it is like seed bushes, so just super interesting teas. And again, I'm not a Korean tea expert by any means. It's probably the tea world that I'm really not familiar with. At least I know pu'er a little bit, right? Korean tea is just like, I know what's good, I know what's not. But this stuff is really good. So Korean tea that's way beyond anything you probably had, unless you've already tasted some of these teas before from Tea Sleuth. We're going to talk more about that on the Discord, because I'm personally like, what the hell is a woojeon? And what's a sejak? And what does tokum cha mean? And what's balyo cha anyway? And what's huang cha? And what's, I don't know. You know, it's almost like the first time you hopped into the Chinese tea world, you're like, what the fuck is Mao Jian? And how is it different from Mao Feng? And Ti Guanyin and Anshi and what hairy crab? That's weird. I don't want hairy crabs. So yeah, we're gonna talk about that on the Discord later. So Discord friends, we'll meet you after the live in a couple minutes actually to discuss the Korean teas. If you haven't joined the Discord yet, I'd highly recommend it. It's just modeled after what I've experienced in the tea world, which is learning through conversation rather than through just reading. I just feel really strongly about the way that I've learned through tea, which is just through people. Even if you're not always there in the Discord, I get it. The Discord's crazy. Sometimes there's like 50 messages and you're like, what the fuck? I don't want to read 50 messages. But if you think about it, somewhere in the tea world right now that's not here, you're choosing to be here and missing out on the conversation somewhere else. But did you get something? Gain some information? You know? Practice a little bit? Sure, it may or may not be better or worse than where you could have been doing other tea things, but it's something. And so it's kind of like that. If you can't be there for the conversation, it's almost like you're at the tea shop or on the tea farm or talking to someone who wants to share their tea information with you, tea, love, knowledge, passion, whatever. And it's more ongoing than like a forum or a blog post, which I really, really like. It just reflects tea better for me, I think. So yeah, you should join the Discord if you haven't. Yeah. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Let me drink some more of this. Yeah, did you just not see me pop? Like, I just popped back up when I had the Farmer's Choice. It's just more kind of, it's just vibrant, fruity. It's got more, just, youthful energy for some reason. It's more vivacious. It's a very advanced term. Yeah, it's fruity. It's very fruity. I guess this is more like summery. I remember, Delphine, you wondered why one of the teas you were drinking during the pour challenge tasted like, pineapple and tropical fruits when it was the Christmas tea from YGT, I think. The tea mafia was like, cut it off, whenever the live stream pauses. But she was saying a tea that's very fruity, like almost like pineapple, summer fruits, is very summery. This is very summery in the same kind of tone. Whereas the Nangang baozhong is like early spring. Like it's almost still winter. It's so quiet. It's so serious. But like, it's got so much to give. It's got more focus. Very different teas. And I'm not saying that all Nangang baozhong is going to be like this. That's one dude, okay? There's probably a whole bunch of like other Nangang tea makers, farms in Nangang. I'm not saying that all Pinglin baozhong is going to taste like this, but there's definitely a kind of restraint with a Nangang baozhong that I think is very elegant. It's important to note too that the farmer's choice from Flowing Leaves is the one that's a little bit more kind of flavorful and fruity and out there. They do have a competition style that's a little bit more kind of held back too, but I think it is just a tea. Wow, I'm like getting drawn into the tea again. It's so hypnotizing. Soft, serious, early spring, very complicated, elegant, complex structured. And then this one here is summer and bright, and you pop back up in your seat and you're ready to go. You got some energy back. Very flavorful, fruity, almost more youthful. Extremely different teas. So I would recommend that if you have two teas that are very similar, or even teas of the same kind, I really recommend that you do a side-by-side at home. Take two bowls that are very similar, take two ceramic spoons. These are like $1 at the Asian store if you can get them. Please, please, please. Use ceramic instead of metal. You'll see people use metal, and that's no problem, but if you can, it costs just $1 extra to get these ceramic ones. Get the nice ones, not the ones that are like fake ceramic. There's like plastic ones that are kind of like, if you do this, it's like plastic. Don't get those. It just helps reflect the tea aroma better. And look, every single material here is the same. It's all good porcelain, good porcelain, good porcelain, good porcelain, right? And so that means there's very minimal material difference that's going on in the tea. If I brewed this one in a yixing pot and this one in a gaiwan, that's a huge difference. If I put metal here, maybe the metal might change the taste of the tea a little bit, It costs you nothing. This is literally how you would see the teas being evaluated if you went to Taiwan or to, even Nepal, India, China. My friend Eduardo is here, and he's been to Taiwan too, and is a huge Taiwanese fanboy. I'm gonna call him out because he also really loves Taiwan. It's like this there too. Playful, fun. You can see the leaves, see the liquor. If you kind of fold the leaves up like this, you can kind of see the color. And the color differences are quite distinct as well between these two. You can play with the leaves, open them up, kind of squish them together, whatever you want. So there's just so much you can do with these bowl brewing side-by-sides. I personally like them better than cupping. Those competition cups where they kind of look like a mug with the cap on top. You see them in coffee a lot, and then they go, and then they kind of let them sit. And that's more standard and actually what's used for, let's say, like tea making competitions, because it does hold the heat better, but I just don't like them as much. This is more intuitive, flowing, fun. Yeah, I highly recommend it. And you just need some identical bowls. I don't want to say which one I like better. And I'm glad that I can't, because these two teas do feel like their own specific people. And I'm really happy I got the challenge from the Floating Leaves podcast to kind of just evaluate the teas. Not even evaluate, it's the wrong word. Just experience them. Yeah, and get to know them without trying to make a judgment call on them. I think something about me is that if I meet someone, I'm very quick to just kind of like, is that person like gonna like, not hurt me, but like, should I be worried about the person just trying to be, you know, defensive? But yeah, like, let your defenses down, experience the tea as it is. It's been really nice to do that. So thanks for joining us in that experience. Discord hangout after this. Thank you so much for joining us. See you guys tomorrow for day 37. Bye!